With the end of 2020 drawing near, so marks the death of a staple amongst the internet for generations, Adobe Flash. Growing up, Flash is how myself and countless other people on the internet passed the time with endless amounts of games or interactive media built on it. I've made a lot of videos on Flash games in the past, and though that's definitely slowed down to a halt as of recently, I figured with Flash finally getting shut down, it's only proper to give it one last hurrah and do one final episode. And what better way than to check out a bunch of random Flash games based on Nintendo IPs. So for old time's sake, let's check out some Flash games one last time. I'll also be uploading a compilation of all my Flash games episodes soon, so be on the lookout for that as well.
Since apparently nowadays it's popular to take characters that are known for precise platforming and chuck them into an auto runner where you have about a quarter of the amount of control you normally would have, here's an auto runner called Mario Infinity. I'm gonna go ahead and assume that, judging by the name, this was at least a little bit inspired by Super Meat Boy Forever. Unlike that game though, these levels are not procedurally generated or anything. It's just your standard bunch of levels you'd see in something like a free mobile game. Gonna be honest, I only played the first stage. I really did. I tried at least to beat the first stage, but the controls in this game are so jank that I really could not do it. First of all, I have no idea how you're supposed to access the stuff towards the top of the screen, and I couldn't find a list of controls for this game, so as far as I know, the only thing you can do is click the screen to jump. And Mario's jump arc is so narrow and fast that it's really hard to time your jumps correctly, and the gaps they give you to clear half the time leave him just enough room to clear if you jump at the last possible frame, and it doesn't help that there's input delay when you try to jump, so this whole thing is just a mess. And randomly, some of the enemy hitboxes make absolutely no sense either. I'm done with this. Alright, so I didn't get very far in this one either, but I at least wanted to try because it seems like whoever made this actually put effort in. It's called a Koopas Revenge, and the concept is kind of cute and creative. The execution, not so much. It's basically a Mario platformer, but instead of Mario rescuing the princess from Bowser, you play as a Koopa trying to save a bunch of his friends from the clutches of Mario. So instead of trying to make your way to Bowser's castle, the game's locations play out in reverse, and you start from Bowser's castle to make your way to Peach's castle. Each area apparently has a few different levels, and I wanted to at least make it out of Bowser's castle, which houses 3 levels. It took a lot of trial and error because the controls are just jank city, and the collision is completely broken, but I did manage to finally do it. This game even adds, from what I can tell, kind of creative bosses, as at the end of Bowser's castle you, for some reason, faced off against Wario, and he actually has a legitimate movement and attack pattern that you need to learn to beat him, and you really do because the hitboxes in this game are so jank that the slightest mistake gets you killed. That's about all I could take of this one. I kept getting game overs. Hey, real quick, if you like the video, consider subscribing. It actually really makes a big impact when people subscribe, so if you like what I do and you want to see more, click that subscribe button and tap the bell icon to see when I upload. The Legend of Escape from the Castle is an escape room game based on the CDI Zelda games. Now, I have yet to talk about this type of game on my channel, but me and this game genre go way back. If anybody remembers the Crimson Room, that was my shit. Anyway, this game is basically like that. The King of Hyrule is missing, and you need to find your way around the castle looking for keys and different objects to help you progress. This one is super difficult. I actually stumbled around aimlessly for a while before finally consulting a guide, and then even the playthrough I found wasn't even complete, so I eventually found myself at a dead end. The problem with games like these is that sometimes the only way to find things is to click randomly in spots around the screen, and if the developer wasn't forgiving enough with the size of the areas you can click, sometimes you'll click the same area a million times thinking there's nothing there, only to find out later that it was just a way smaller spot than you had actually clicked. Conversely though, the actual objects in this game and how they're combined and used really aren't very confusing, and for the most part, it's actually pretty intuitive, but sometimes I couldn't find stuff even after watching somebody else do it. Escape games are cool, Zelda's cool, but this is Janktown, USA. Now, this one isn't really a game, but rather a first-person interaction with Ball Guy from Pokemon Sword and Shield, where you just kind of click the screen to make the dialogue proceed. Let's see what we got here.
Hey there! Thanks for rolling by to have a chat with your mate the Ball Guy. In any case, I have all the balls you'll need. Take 1! Thanks for talking to me. I always enjoy seeing you around. You're going to keep taking my balls, right? It makes me really happy to see you. You know that, right? If I run out of balls, you'll still stay with me, right? You'll stay with me no matter what, right? Looks like I've run out. You're okay with that, right? You won't need more? I'm sorry, I really don't have any more, mate. I've been giving you everything I have. Please understand. I really don't have any. Please, don't ask me for more. Please. Please. All this time, you really have just been after my balls, right? You don't really care about me. Even after I put all that effort into following you? Everywhere? It's okay. I do have one last thing for you. Something you'll never forget.
Take me, 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 take me.
Oh, this is a really good line of dialogue right here. Comment with sword or shield to tell Chibi X which game to get.
This one's called Flatbound, and if you couldn't figure it out from the title, it's an Earthbound-themed Flappy Bird clone, complete with Ness's disembodied floating head. Honestly, this is probably the most unique and interesting Flappy Bird clone I've seen, and I've played a bunch. So not only is this Earthbound-themed with Earthbound music, but there's little elements they've thrown in to make it unique. For one, while your score is being tallied, it pops up in a text box just like it would in the original game. You also don't have to just avoid the normal Flappy Bird obstacles either. You also need to pick up the pencil erasers to remove the iron pencils that occasionally block your way. The item gift boxes from the Mother series also make an appearance, and their inclusion is actually what makes the game the most unique. In this one, you actually unlock new stages by collecting the item boxes, making this the first Flappy Bird clone I've played that actually has multiple levels. It's all aesthetic changes and nothing major, but it really adds some depth into a game that's usually the epitome of tedium, and all the sprite work looks great too. This is a fun little Flappy Bird clone with responsive controls, and I can tell somebody actually cared about what they were doing here. Here's a short and simple, but kind of fun and workable Star Fox game. It's called Star Fox Ring Training, and it's exactly what it sounds like. Pilot Norwing as you fly Fox through various rings by moving the mouse, as well as shooting the rings that are blocked by these red X's. It's very, very short, and there's only one stage, but it actually does control pretty spot on. I mean, it's just my mouse, and I wasn't super great at it because I'm controlling it with a trackpad right now, but the way they animated the R-Wing actually does make the movement look pretty fluid. The game basically works on a score system, and there's 50 rings in the stage, but you don't actually rack up a score by getting the most rings, but rather how many you get consecutively, and that determines your overall score, which equates to a letter grade. I could only get an E. This is Sonic Adventure 2 all over again.
Barely made it.
This game is an okay little time waster, but honestly, it was just kind of nice to see any Star Fox representation at all. I really didn't expect to. There isn't all that much to say about this one because it's basically like RC Pro-Am, but FZero. You play as Captain Falcon through a pretty short story mode where you're pit against 4 different total racers. Once you beat one, you get a little paragraph to read about your next opponent. Rinse and repeat. Outside of the aesthetic and music, this really is just like any other top-down toy car style racing game. Once you beat the 4 different racers, that's the end of the game. Though there is a hyper mode that lets you drive super fast in an open track since the developers slowed down the cars in the game to avoid collision problems. This is fine. It exists. Once again, it was just kind of cool to see some representation from a franchise that even Nintendo tends to act like doesn't exist. This one is simply titled Kirby. It's a Kirby game. A very, very slow Kirby game. You walk around inhaling enemies, spitting them out, and swallowing them to obtain the various powers we've come to expect in Kirby games. Only thing is, for whatever reason, in this game, every single enemy gives you a power, and there seems to be no rhyme or reason to it. These red Waddle Dees give you the fire power, these yellow ones give you the magic power for some reason, and then there's also the sword and the cutter attacks, but they're not really attributed to any specific type of enemy, and of course, they pick the 2 Kirby enemy types that typically don't yield a power-up. Whatever, I mean, I guess it's cool that they included power-ups at all because there's literally nothing in the game. Come to think of it, wait, why did they include power-ups? One door leads you to another screen, and at the end of that is a door that leads you back to the beginning, and it just loops infinitely. That's it. There's no end. I tried flying off to the side to see if maybe something was over there, but nope, just a cloudy abyss. The only way to end the game is by dying, which, by the way, can't be done by running into an enemy. You literally have to Geronimo off the stage. RIP. This one's called Impossible Metroid, and it's a Metroid game. You control Samus as you walk around this area and need to eliminate, or stun according to this little tutorial blurb, every enemy before you can proceed. Before doing that, though, you need to gain the ability to shoot by navigating to the left and picking up the ability that's being held by a Chozo statue. Once you do that, you can move to the right and start taking out enemies. I can't even begin to tell you how badly this controls, but half the time the game doesn't even respond to the keys I press, especially the one I need to fire my arm cannon. It's doable though, and pretty quickly you can take out all the enemies including Ridley. Well, you don't really take him out, you just freeze him in place, but now there's one enemy left and he's stuck behind this force field or whatever and I have no way to shoot him. I keep walking back and forth, but there seems to be literally nothing I can do. And now I fell to the bottom of the screen and I'm stuck with no way to get out. Wonderful. Is this game really just gonna let me live without giving me a way to get back up? What is this? I did what the game told me to do, but apparently it's just impossible. Wait. Damn it. And that's all the games I checked out today, so that's it, I guess. Soon after this video comes out, Flash will be but a distant memory of school libraries and study periods. But alas, hope is not entirely lost, and though this may be the last video I can properly call Flash games, HTML5 still exists, as well as other baked-in online game engines. Newgrounds even has their own player, which will apparently support legacy content, which is really cool, honestly. Thanks for coming along for the ride all these years. Flash was something I spent a long time with growing up, and it surely will never be forgotten. Not by me or anyone else who grew up experiencing it. Hey, thanks for watching the video. If you liked it and want to see more, there's a couple other videos right there you can check out. And if you want to see everything I upload, subscribe and then tap the bell icon. And if you want to go above and beyond and help support the channel, I have a Patreon right there too.